Now I invite our last panelist, Dr. Basavaraju. He works with Gram, so he would be talking his grassroots experience in the wide range of area. Dr. Basavaraju, over to you.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Hello.
Yes.
You're audible.
Oh, sorry. I was not able to hear. Thank you. Should I go on, Dr. Chandrakant?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So firstly, sorry, there are some audio issues in between. I couldn't hear whether I was called or not. So thanks, Dr. Chandrakant, for this wonderful moderation and invitation. Thanks to the team of leadership of JPIGO for inviting me to share my thoughts. And thanks for being liberal in giving a broad topic to me, unlike boxing to a specific target group. It's an advantage in a way. So because I have had a wonderful August learned panelist, I can reiterate what they said and reinforce. As a last speaker, I also have a challenge. What new can I speak? But I have an advantage also of having a very attentive and active participants. Those who are really interested, they'll stay tuned till the long that I know. So thanks for this opportunity. But let me tell you a story from our experience. We are currently working in rural areas of Mysuru with a vision of making panchayats COVID-free and with a mission of developing a community-based management system for COVID by building panchayats, their capabilities in handling and managing COVID-19 situation in the rural area. Let me narrate a story which happened just yesterday. So we are all actually in a village wherein we got a call from the villagers where the village local task force we have created. They called us and said, so there is a man, actually there's a family, they're not listening to us. So please come and talk to them. So we wondered what could be the problem and we went there. And there was a young person who is tested as COVID-19 positive. And he, along with his family, are freely moving around in the village and going to the agricultural field for wage labor, etc. Which, of course, we can't deny that is there necessary. There is a need actually to work. But we tried to talk to him. But listening to the response of that man, the father of the COVID-19 tested positive person, we are shocked and astonished because that's quite unusual to hear from a villager normally. Because in village we know for like the brotherhood, the cohesiveness, and care for each other. A man said, yes, we are going around, true, but there is a problem. My son is diagnosed as a positive, but let the entire village get positive, become positive. It was a very shocking statement to hear from that man. But thankfully, he went on to clarify. In his own next sentence, there was a clarification, but that will communicate you the attitudinal challenges what we have in the rural areas today. He said, firstly, all of us will be positive. If you go on test, so the result, I'm sure, I'll bet with you that everybody results will be positive. So there is no exception. This corona is not going to leave anybody, and all of us, if we get tested, will be positive and no need to worry. That was a statement. How do you pursue this, the reaction? I don't know. So secondly, the youths continued to say, I'm fine. I don't have any problem. These people simply showed my COVID result as positive. Why should I stay at home? I don't have any fever. My temperature is normal. I don't have any problem. No fatigue. Why should I be at home? This is the reaction we got. And finally, of course, with all our communication abilities, we pursued that person, convinced, and finally convinced him to go to the institutional facility for isolation. The same way, there are a lot of other attitudinal challenges we are finding in the community. Another major one is, anyways, I'll get the COVID. What's the point in taking preventive measures? This COVID is not going to leave any one of us. So it's going to come to us. Why should I be so scared and so be preventive, fussy about taking all these preventive measures? These are another questions and attitudinal challenges we have. And there is also a feeling, I don't know whether sometimes these studies will help us or sometimes it will pose a new challenge in the community. They say, I would have already got the COVID. So what is the new problem? So many studies and media also said 60% of the people, probably 50% of the people have already got the COVID. Why should we? It's probably it has come and gone. So why should we be more fussy about that? These are all the attitudinal challenges. Similarly, as my fellow panelist said, there's a strong anger against ASHAs also, probably because of the target given to them to cover immunization. So, and exceptional incidences due to some other reasons, the deaths happened, probably some initial reaction they have found amongst people who have taken vaccination. So there's a strong fear and as well as anger against ASHA that's actually making in the second wave to manage situation appropriately in the rural area. In city area, in the urban area, family means for all of us, either it could be 2+2, 2+1 or 1+1. But in the villages, as my panelist also said, it's a cluster. So family for them is their nephew, their brother, somebody else living in the side by side, the same area. It's a cluster of habitation within the home. And how do you say you are the house person, you are the person belong to this house, you are the person don't belong to this house. Very difficult to categorize them or separate them. And another strong 3 words we are listening in the community is, they will take us, lock us, and finish us. So if we are at home, we are safe. If we go to institutional facility, that will be our fate. We can't come back to home. Of course, it could be exceptional cases. Those exceptional cases has become probably many are considering them as a norm and fearing to go for institutional isolation, come what may, whatever the limitation they have in the villages. And specifically youth, somehow they are information full, but they're scared. They're not disclosing symptoms, syndromes, as well as even though sometimes they've got test results, they'll take 2 to 3 days to communicate to their house people. And until then, probably they would have communicated this to their people in the house also. These are all the attitudinal challenges. Coming to the systemic, let me draw your attention to some of the systemic issues what we have at home. The changing strategies. Initially, whatever it may be, the 4T, 5T model, the strongly propagated, advocated, and practiced. Suddenly, some of the governments, even local governments, district level authorities started taking the decision that will go by syndromic approach. It's good as a preventive approach. I agree with you. So as Sanjana ji also presented before me, the tribal area where testing is not at all available, it is very difficult to reach the testing equipments and services. It's better to be cautious, take a syndromic approach, isolate people with the symptoms, but it is important to test. That's what we have experienced. If we don't test, so people will not be serious unless they are having some message or a certificate or whatever the official communication that they're COVID positive. So they are not going to be serious. Enforcing home isolation is also a challenge for the rural authorities, be it for ASHA or panchayats. If they are not officially tested positive, they'll argue that nothing has happened to them, and ensuring and enforcing home isolation is a challenge. And also it started confusing. Again, for example, yesterday a new directive is issued by the government that now we are intensifying the test. 13 lakh testing kits reached Mysore itself, one district itself. Now we are going to intensify the test, go to door survey, do testing, etc. The last 1 week or 2 weeks, we have told ASHAs, Anganwadi workers, and ANMs that no need of testing, go by syndromic approach, give these medicines of corona as a uniform measure to anybody having symptoms. Now you are saying you need to get tested. So there's a strong point in our community's argument. No, why should I go for a test? And tests are happening only at the PHCs. Of course, this was told by my earlier panelist also. Teleconsultation and counseling is a challenge in the rural area. As my panelist also said, like we are parallelly providing teleconsultation counseling services in the name of Team Spandana to COVID-19 people. We thought initially we are duplicating the intervention because government will also be giving them teleconsultation and counseling, but hardly they are getting maximum 2 calls. One at the beginning, the moment their information is entered to the system. Secondly, when they are expected to complete their isolation period. So not more. Even government having these challenges to reach out to them with the required number of counseling sessions. So what they normally do for the people in the rural, in the urban area. And frontline workers are not empowered to enforce isolation. So Ashas, their own people, Anganwadi workers, they're our own people. So they can easily argue with them and send them back. But where are the manpower? Where are the human resources available? So they are also not empowered. Some of the even panchayat members are also staying away from these cases, incidences, because they are also having a fear of getting this virus. And more importantly, the lack of coordination and cohesive action between the people in major institutions working in the villages to enforce this home isolation appropriately. Also, this cohesion and coordination required to garner resources, to mobilize community, to channelize external resources, and also to map the civil society organizations and partner with them, and also to get the volunteer support. This major thing, although there are proactive action from the civil society sector, so this coordination and cohesiveness from the government side is it looks like it's missing. Third important thing, infrastructure, which is easy, which is already heard by many people. One is small houses. You know about that. I don't have to reiterate. PHCs doesn't have enough facilities. Lack of basic aids and equipments with ASHAs. When you are taking a decision to go by syndromic approach, and ASHAs and Anganwadi workers don't even have oximeters and thermometers, what kind of preventive actions you can take and emergency management you can ensure at the ground level. And digital literacy is another challenge, having connection as well as literacy, because to get any services related to COVID, people say you call Apta Mitra facility, you call COVID helpline, you find bed status online, but how to find all these things online? That's another challenges in the and challenges for the home isolation from the livelihood perspective. Now it's a monsoon season. If you miss an opportunity, who will know what is my plight for the next 1 year? That's the question raised by the farmers. They need to go to the field. We have seen people with positive status are just 4 to 5 days after tested positive or being in home isolation going to their field. Secondly, animal husbandry. This is one of the major and practical challenges we are finding. People in the rural area certainly have one or more than one cows and animals to take care. But if they stay at home, who will manage those animals? Who will take them to the field? Who will get them the fodder? So that's another challenge which is forcing them. Unlike other situations, nobody is coming them for their aid. Okay, don't worry, let me take care of your animals for the next 2 days, because they're also a fear that I'll contract the virus. Nobody is going to their support. That's another major challenges we are facing. And wage earners, this is the season, and women. Sir, I think I have not taken much time, but
yeah, you can wrap up in 1 minute.
That's the problem being last speaker. I understand. Thank you. And
Thank you.
The women, if you are a woman, you have got a COVID positive, that's more challenge. Who will cook home? Believe me, they can't even take rest, appropriate rest, what you have taken. But what shall we do? Let me come to the final and solutions. I pose a lot of challenges and problems. Let me also answer some of the solutions, what could be. One is we only have an answer in community-based management of COVID-19. So we need to, sitting in Delhi, sitting in Bangalore, governments of state, even at the district level cannot manage. If I take by number wise, there are 22 assistant director level officers per taluk, per block level. There are more than 300 to 400 villages in one taluka, one block. So how you ensure that all these government officers and bureaucrats would reach and reach services to the people in the rural area? Unless what we are doing at Gram. So we have devised a project called COVID Reach and going with one sentence, Panchatantra Grama Mantra. What are those Panchatantra? 5 strategies. First level, strengthen the GP task force, Gram Panchayat level and village Panchayat level task force. have a specific 90 days action plan. So it's not only from the point of view of COVID, from the larger public health perspective, because we don't want any other co-infections and co-health issues to come in the prevailing COVID situation. So have that 90-day plan of action. Constituting team ICAN. ICAN means, as you know, I can do it. Secondly, basically it's information, care, and network. So having 5 to 6 youth volunteers who can be a bridge between COVID-19 positive people and the service delivery mechanism, reaching them information, care, and network. Thirdly, involvement of community-based organization, SHGs as a behavioral change agents, because mothers are the best behavioral change agents, number one. Secondly, involving the dairy cooperatives, local dairy cooperatives, so that they can take care of the animals in this kind of situation, and also reach benefit and also be a change agent in the villages. Third, fourth level, support system for the frontline workers. We need to really empower frontline workers with social support, building a social capital around them. That's importantly what we are trying to do through village task force. When the village task force is built, so suddenly there is an escalation point for the ASHA and ANM to go and communicate their problem, their requirement, the need of support to the village level task force. Fifthly, mapping civil society organization. Each panchayat, one civil society organization, so that we can channelize the resources to one panchayat completely instead of duplication. And more importantly, community isolation or supports we need to bring in. What we are trying, what's happening in Karnataka is utilizing hostels, children's hostel anyways, which is vacant now, as a community isolation center, because it has got all the facilities. Number of toilets are available, cooking facilities are available, cooking staff are available. So convert the hostels as a isolation center. Secondly, if the wave is continuing, God forbid it will not, but it continues, utilizing schools as an isolation centers and opportunities. So scheme like Matrupurna, some of you might have heard about these kind of schemes, the schemes implemented by ICDS for providing nutritious meal to pregnant and lactating mother, which is stopped now. But we strongly urge, and I think that should be taken as addition at the policy level, to start the Matrupurna scheme, so that a nutritious meal can be reached to pregnant and lactating mothers in case of isolation, in case of their families got affected, and also to the people who are in need of basic food support and services. And milk producer cooperatives, as I said, should be involved. Mobile vehicle to reach out basic essentials. So people, they don't have individual vehicles, personal vehicles to go to the market once a week and get the essentials to their home. They are using same autos, shared autos. There is no government bus services available. Local private shared auto will not follow any COVID norms of going by 50%, taking 50% passengers all the time. So that's another super spreader for the COVID-19. So how can we reach basic essentials to the people and equip, more importantly, village rehabilitation workers to reach care and support to people with disability and use them also as a frontline workers, which is completely ignored right now. With this, thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Basavaraju. So with each of the speaker coming with such a rich experience, it's really pity that we have to put each one of you in constraint of 8 minutes or 10 minutes. We really want to hear each one of you, but you would understand that there is a limited time.